All right. It's the happy hour version of There Will Be Bourbon with Kristina Wong. How are you, madam?
Very good as can be with my sparkling water.
Yeah. So you're doing what is it? Wait, it's called the hard 75. Is that what's going down?
It's called the 75
Whatever.
hard program.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
a lot of people call it a challenge. I call it a challenge, but people get really upset, when you call it a challenge versus a program. And it's like the thing where you have to do like 5 tasks every single day, 2 workouts, both 45 minutes, 1 outdoors,
Yep.
read 10 pages of a book and all this stuff. But I'm doing phase 1, which includes a freezing cold shower. So for
How's that
5
going?
minutes.
How's that been?
Not as bad as I thought it'd be.
No. So okay, wait. So do you go into the shower normally and then you gradually make it cold, or do you just it's cold already and you just hop in for 5 minutes?
There is no way I think I could get in with it being cold. Like no
Yeah,
way.
it's a good strategy.
And I think even when I try that it's just it's impossible. It's a huge shock. So what I do is I get in and I'm in for like 20, 30 seconds. And then I have my timer on my watch, and I have it set to 5 minutes and 10 seconds. So in that 10 seconds, I have to turn it down as cold as it will go, like as cold as it will go, like until the water pressure, stops.
Yeah.
So where it stops coming out, or is about to stop coming out, and then that's when it's cold enough. And so by the time, so in that 10 seconds usually takes like 5 or 6, it can, I can make it to I can turn down in time, and then I'm in there for 5 minutes. So what I do is I do 3 minutes in the front and then 2 minutes in the back.
I guess that's got to be considered too. I guess that's part of it. Like, do I want 5 minutes on my back? See, these are things you don't really think about. Because I thought, no, I don't know. I'm assuming, the goal is to just, that's why I was saying, like, do you just instantly shock yourself for 5 minutes, or do you gradually turn it down? But
so
yeah,
5
I've done
minutes on
some of
your
those.
back.
Yeah, wait, no, go ahead. 3 minutes on the back.
So 5 minutes on your back is way too easy, because after a minute you just go numb. So like after 1 minute on your chest, you're just it just feels like water,
Yeah.
And then so just to make it kind of difficult, I turn around, because if you go the other way, that's harder. If you start with your back and you go to your front, that's way harder. But if you do the hard part first and you turn around, it's not as bad. There's a whole strategy.
So what's the point, you think? Like developing like a mental toughness to the cold, or is there something else that we don't know about that cold showers do? Because I'm pretty sure we invented water heaters for a reason. They feel better. Right?
So I think the purpose is supposed to be, number one, mental toughness, because I think you get the benefits after like 2 or 3 minutes, right? But I think you're in there for 5 minutes just because, it's kind of it is a long time for a cold shower. So I've just kind of talked myself into it and gotten used to it, but it's still not fun. And then sometimes the worst part is if there's like a draft. So if I'm at the gym and there's like air conditioning, that's the worst. So it's like air conditioning, freezing cold water, and then I turn on music.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I was gonna say, well, better you than me. That's one of the things I left out, right? Because I remember you sent me this, and I was like, well, I'll do my own version where I just kind of pick and like, so I do the 2 workouts a day. They're not all 45 minutes because I don't think you need 45 minutes for a workout sometimes, right? Like for me, it's intensity. So, and I shift all my lengths all the time anyway. So, and then, I definitely don't drink alcohol thing. I have reduced it. Right?
Oh, very good.
Eating like a diet, right? It just says pick a diet and choose, right? I've done that. I read. I do my guitar for a half hour as well, in addition to the reading. So some sort of creativity, right? So so it's working. It's good. And I'm doing the daily picture, right? Doing the daily picture.
Ooh.
Which is actually pretty funny because, man, December, actually going all the way back to Thanksgiving, from Thanksgiving on with my brother, and then December on with everything with the travel, that's funny. Like it looked like someone inflated me with a tire pump. That's pretty good. But yeah.
You're gonna have to post these.
Ooh. Well, let's see
Post pics.
only if I get, I mean, I can, if I get like well, I'm not really trying to get super shredded, but just, yeah, maybe let's see how we look at day 90. Let's see how that looks. And then I will, because it'll be funny. Like hibernating.
90.
Yeah. I'm going on. Like,
you're doing like 90 hard or something?
No, I'm doing the 2-a-day workouts for a year. Every day for a year.
For a year?
I mean, we're already at day 29. It's fine.
You've got like over 300 more days to go.
I mean, yeah, but that's if you're right?
That's a little hardcore.
All right. Well, so what, are you going to just stop at 75? I'm sure there's a phase 2.
So I'm actually stopping at 30 because phase 1 is only 30 days.
Oh, okay. So you stop doing the showers at that point. Then you get back to hot showers.
Yes.
Okay.
And eating whatever I want.
Yeah.
And gaining all the weight back.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you posted you've lost a ton of weight. That's crazy.
You know, I think my body composition is changing because I lost like 7 pounds right away, but then I gained like 2 or 3 pounds back. And I think it's because I'm drinking so much water. Like every day I take my progress photos. I just look bloated, you know. I have this like big old pot belly you can't even see. Like,
I meant more
the
from
muscles.
When you started, like, because you posted something from when you were like, I mean, you almost weighed as much as I do.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. Close, but just kidding.
Okay, I got pretty up there. I was pushing about 180. I think that was like the moment.
Bills. Nice.
Yeah, that was bad. I'll post my photos if you post your photos.
Yeah, totally. But mine's not going to be for another 330 days or so. But yeah, totally.
We should get a progress photo. Yeah, I'm sure you look great. Your workouts are intense.
Well, the workouts are intense, yeah. But I mean, just because you work out intense doesn't mean you look great. There's a difference, right?
That's true.
Like, okay, so yeah, we'll get there. It's under it.
You look like crap.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So we got Kristina Wong, Breitbart reporter, covers the Department of Defense. Real quick. So it is happy hour. This is just, I'm starting this thing where in my mind, I just kind of popped into my head that, so, specific discussions, less than an hour, right? Happy hour. Great, right? We're not going to go into like just randomly ranting like I usually do. Those will still take place, but on the happy hour menu tonight, because this is There Will Be Bourbon, so there will still be bourbon. And then we got a little Russell's 10-year, right? From the great Jimmy and Eddie Russell from the Wild Turkey Distillery. Now, you've probably seen a lot of this stuff, right? Wild Turkey 101, Russell's Reserve, the single barrel, the 10-year, and there's a 13-year now, but that's already turned into something stupid, and it's like $700 and up on the secondary market. So don't do that. But you can still find this everywhere for like between 40 and 60. So go get it. It's actually pretty damn delicious. All right. And then Kristina, happy hour with sparkling water because she's doing her tough stuff, right?
Yes. And you can't drink alcohol during the challenge.
Yeah, I mean,
6 more days though. I have 6 more days.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that does work. Like every time I've come back from some sort of deployment, I've been shredded, and it's probably because I can't drink alcohol for 9 months. I mean, that's probably why. All right, so I wanted to have you on to talk about what's clearly been going on in the news from not only the Department of Defense perspective, right, but just the narrative as a whole. And that is what's going on with Ukraine. So for those who aren't paying attention, what the hell is exactly going on in Ukraine right now?
So Russia has amassed 127,000 troops now around Ukraine. So Ukraine used to be part of the Soviet Union. For
reference, though, 127,000, that's roughly what we invaded Iraq with, for those at home. Anyway.
Okay, so is that a
actually no? It was less. It was actually less. No, you're right. Yeah. Hold on, because Third ID was there, First Marine Division, and I think there were some other supporting elements. So yeah, it definitely wasn't 127,000. But anyway, go ahead. So that's a lot for those not keeping track or those keeping track. It's a lot of soldiers.
Yes, and it's much more than we've seen in the past. The forces had been kind of trickling in, I think, since December, but it sort of reached you could say, crisis stage, in the last several weeks, because, they're bringing in like logistics and different units that they'll need to sustain a long-term presence there. And today you had a Biden administration official say she thinks Wendy Sherman, she's the deputy, I think she's Secretary of State. She predicted that there's going to be a Russian invasion of Ukraine in February after the Winter Olympics, because she said, she doesn't think Putin wants to piss off China. So, who's hosting the Winter Olympics. So that's a pretty...
That's one way to ruin the ratings.
Yeah, exactly. Sadly, that's probably it. And so, it could happen. It looks like it's going to happen. I think
Ukraine has roughly what I think the same, like 100. What are they, about 150,000, 200,000 soldiers? I think Ukraine has, give or take. I think the last time I looked it up. Clearly, it's probably not on par with Russia in terms of their overall force. But what is Ukraine thinking in all this? Are they just ready for it, or are they just preparing as it's going to happen, or where we kind of at? Because I remember we had the Crimea thing in 2014, which has been annexed, right? So
yeah. So
what's Russia after at this point?
Well, I think Russia just sees this as an opportune time after the Afghanistan disaster, which was a U.S.-led NATO mission. Yeah, not long ago, U.S.-led NATO mission. Russia has been trying to undermine and weaken NATO for the last, several decades, and so they are. I think they're seizing this, especially with this administration in office right now. They kind of see this as a good time to test this administration, test NATO, clearly divided, and so we don't know what they're going to do. We don't know if Russia's actually going to invade, but if they did, the U.S. and its NATO allies are not really united exactly on how to respond, even though they say they are. And so, Ukrainian leaders in the last couple of days have sort of put on a very stoic, brave face. So they're saying part of the whole, destabilizing and part of the war is to destabilize Ukraine. So let's stay strong. Let's, be calm and not overreact, not panic. Let's not, tank the stock markets. Let's just be calm. And so you've seen this really odd, calm, this message coming from the Ukrainian leaders in the past week or so. You saw that the U.S. State Department told some diplomats, family members, and some diplomats to non-essential employees to just come back home, which was pretty alarming. And then you have Ukraine saying that was a little bit of an overreaction. Then you have the UK also pulling some people out, but then you also have France and Germany saying no, we're going to leave our folks there. It's not time yet. So you definitely have a split in how the NATO allies are reacting, but Ukraine for now is kind of oddly, just trying to keep calm and clearly there is a few weeks. If Russia is waiting until after the Olympics, you still have some time for diplomacy, although probably not that much time.
Yeah, and so I mean, for those who don't understand, there was the fall of the Soviet Union. I think Ukraine declared their independence back in late 1991. They're not a very old country in terms of being independent, right? I mean, the fall of the Soviet Union, really, when you think about it, it wasn't that fucking long ago. Like all that stuff was happening, and these countries were declaring
during our lifetimes.
Yeah, it was during our lifetime. While we were playing around over in the first Gulf War in 1991, right? I mean, this stuff. Yeah, there was a lot that took place between 89 and 91, and a lot of this stuff, and that's the biggest issue I think with Ukraine is a lot of it, especially the eastern part of that country is still very, I guess I'm trying to think of the word for, I don't know if they're pro-Russia. I mean, they kind of are, but But there's a lot of remnants from that era, right? So that's why you have so much corruption in that government. Democracy is the plan, but they're not that good at it yet, which why would they be? It's like I said, this stuff happened in our lifetime. It wasn't that fucking long ago when you think about it.
Yeah, and I am definitely not a Russia or Ukraine expert, but I think Russia is sort of alarmed. There's been several developments, such as Zelensky becoming president. He was supposed to be kind of this puppet. He was a comedian. It wasn't to be taken seriously, but he's been pro-West and pro-US, and that has really alarmed Putin. So he wants a Ukraine that is subservient to Russia, sort of like Belarus is, former Soviet nation, or and so he wants to be, for his own security, and also to sort of regain the historical importance of Russia. They're probably still not over the Cold War, as you mentioned. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, and so I think Putin, forget how old he is, but he's kind of, he's getting up there.
I think 67, I thought.
He wants to cement his legacy. So, I mean, and I read this really great article about just how the U.S. has sort of underestimated the Russian military advances, and just we've been focused on Afghanistan. We've been focused on, terrorism, ISIS, and in the meantime, and it's funny because we've heard this, but I mean, we're kind of seeing things come to fruition. We've heard that, Russia, China, all of our adversaries, they studied what happened in Desert Storm, which was very successful for us. And so they went to town, they sort of studied, how can we, avoid something like this happening to us? How can we do this? And so now they're able to, they're a competent military, of course, not where we are, but you hear all the time that they're significantly, eroding the gap between our militaries. And I think, Russia and China are ahead of us with hypersonic missiles. I mean, it's almost like we've been asleep at the wheel, and so I think what's that?
I said, which we actually admitted. That, like, oh, we didn't realize China was this advanced all of a sudden. Like, we admitted that not that long ago.
Yeah, it's very weird that we have, it seems like our foreign policy, we just get stuck, we just get stuck for in this bureaucracy. It's like, oh, Russia experts, we don't need you anymore. We need counterterrorism experts and radical Islamic experts. And then you have this whole industry built around that. Now, the Afghanistan war is over for now. And now it's like, oh, let's bring in the China experts, let's bring in the Russia experts. And, and it's kind of too late, because now, you have this crisis that's happening right now. And there's a lot of Americans who actually don't care, who don't think this is a crisis, or maybe think it's a manufactured crisis, to save Biden's really abysmal poll numbers. And so, American public is very divided on this too. And, the right's divided, the left's divided on this. Although I'm seeing a lot of division on the right, some folks they're more of the neoconservative persuasion. Other folks are more of the libertarianism, anti, pro-isolationist kind of wing. And so there's really no public support, I think, to do anything about Ukraine now. And that's kind of the sad truth. And that's because we've been taxed because of Afghanistan.
Well, they're also not doing a great job of selling it. And that's I'm glad you brought up the American public, because a lot of people might be saying, well, why the Ukraine? Why do we have to pay attention to them? What does this have to do with us? Well, we actually promised it to them, right? So in 1994, we signed the Budapest Memorandum.
The Budapest Memorandum, yes.
With the UK and Russia, which guaranteed the Ukrainian security in exchange for them to give up their nuclear arsenal, right? Left over from the Cold War. Ukraine had some after the fall of the USS, the Soviet Union, right? So the Ukraine still had nuclear weapons that were a part of that, and they agreed to give them up in exchange for us providing them security, right? So whether we like that or not, we signed up for it, right? And that's not, I'm just curious why that's not really being sold yet maybe it's because the administration doesn't know what they want to do, or maybe they're still figuring out the best way to present it, because we've been given presentations before, the war in Iraq with Colin Powell, right? The case for Afghanistan over and over and over, right? So is that something that you think is going to be eventually proposed or presented, or just it's kind of wonky foreign policy behind the scenes stuff that no one really cares about as a
I
greater
think that
public?
the Democrats are sort of stuck because Biden does not want to get us involved in another war. And you're seeing some weird things going on, like I'm getting 8,500 troops putting them on heightened alert, right? So it's kind of like these war-mongering, war-making noises. And everyone's like, oh my God, everyone freaks out. But then the next day he's like, none of them will go to Ukraine. We are not sending troops to Ukraine. We're not sending combat troops to Ukraine, even though we have several hundred National Guard and some Green Berets there. They are there. And so I think you're seeing like the national security establishment, they're trying to make the case for why we should care and why we should do stuff, as far as even sending in, troops and to defend Ukraine. They're trying to argue why it matters. So there's a lot of the quote experts who are trying to convince the public, but they're not getting very far because the Biden administration does not want a new war. The Democratic base does not want a war. They don't care, and then you have, the right, and you have the national security establishment on the right, who they care, and they want to support also the national security establishment pushing for more action. But they also are enjoying, I wouldn't say enjoying, I don't think they're enjoying this, but this is also a disaster for the Biden administration. So that I don't think they're going to try to own it. We're not going to see, Mitch McConnell give some sort of Senate speech.
That's not a good idea, I don't think.
No, right? So they're gonna say, the senators and lawmakers who support supporting Ukraine, they're gonna just give their own speeches, but they're not gonna really get ahead of Biden and really push for military action or anything, because I don't think the Republican base wants that either.
So that was I guess my next question would be, are they going to hide behind the whole 2001 AUMF there with the authorization for military force, or are they going to try and make a case to Congress, get a new one?
I don't think we are going to see U.S. troops in Ukraine at all, besides from the ones who are already there. And I think you have, there's already been some reporting that those advisors would be pulled out because they're nowhere near the action. They're just at a training base, and so they're not on the front lines. But I think there was this New York Times story that said ominously at the end, but some could stay to advise on the front lines, which was like, whoa, what? So, but I think that might have been slipped in there. I think there's a little bit of bluffing going on from the U.S., trying to ward off any kind of further military invasion. Yeah, so I don't think you're going to see. I don't think we're going to put U.S. troops in harm's way. That said, if for some reason, so we've put 8,500 troops on heightened alert.
Yeah.
And that's up to NATO, right? And if NATO decides it wants to deploy activate the NATO readiness or NATO response force, then the troops have to go. And I think that would be a huge escalation. That could even, that might even prompt Russia to do something. But say we did actually deploy them, then the temperature goes up. Like, okay, we've deployed them. Then you have that emboldens the national security establishment and the hawks, and they'll say, look, we
starts going downhill
exactly faster than we think, and so you've got these troops and you've deployed them, they're activated, then it's like, what next? And then there's there are little things that happen between the Ukraine and Russia border, like little disputes. There's, back and forth artillery fire, armed drones. There's little things here and there. So, what would be the spark? Would there be a spark? If the U.S. troop is injured, what happens if the U.S. troop gets killed? Or, so I think you get to a very unpredictable situation, and I think you start seeing the war drums. I mean, so I don't think we're going to put U.S. troops in harm's way. I think if we did, we probably would ignore the AUMF like we have for the last 2 decades. So I think you'd have Biden going out.
That's why I want people to be aware of that, especially the average American who doesn't think, oh, well, that's so far off. Like, I don't think, and I know they don't. So that's why I'm bringing it up. Is like, look, Ukraine at the moment is kind of like the roadblock between Russia and Poland, right? Poland's right next to Ukraine, and then to the southwest of that, I mean, we've been in Kosovo since the mid 90s. You got tons of soldiers there. We've been building up our air defense with Polish forces for at least the last decade. That like maybe they saw this kind of coming. So, and there's, I don't know how many, but there's plenty of soldiers in Poland now already doing NATO missions. I mean, we're already in the neighborhood, right? Now, we may not be on the street where all this is taking place, but we're in the neighborhood. We don't have to drive very far to get to where the action's at.
Yeah, and I'm afraid that we're in a situation now where the credibility of NATO is sort of doubted. I think after what's that?
Pretty antiquated at this point. It's kind of a relic from the World War II era, and you had Trump, calling it obsolete, and then you had. That's right.
I mean,
forcing them to actually participate and not just us, be the shelter, like the umbrella corporation, where we do the whole burden of everything, and like so. Yeah, of all the things you may not like or dislike about President Trump, that's a very important thing that no president before him was doing. Holding our actual allies accountable to what they agreed to. That was a big thing.
And it's interesting. So I've talked to some people, some sources during the last administration who said when Trump went into, NATO ministerial, people really took note, and the way he engaged was very different from, presidents in the past. He was very conversational. Things weren't scripted. It was an honest discussion. I think they really saw him. And remember that great picture with him and what's her name, Merkel, where I think Merkel's leaning across and he's just sitting there like that.
Yeah.
And so it sort of showed, like, I mean, Trump was sort of like the big guy in the room, right? And so you have, I mean, plus with COVID, you can't really go anywhere. But Biden is I don't think anyone's getting the sense of leadership from him. I think you posted on Twitter and of just him just babbling.
I was going to get to that.
As a video.
After, but no, that's important. So, well, let me get your last take on this, and then we'll move on to that, because I did kind of want to, I want to lighten it up a little bit, have a little fun. So I'm sure Lafayette Lee, I'm sure you follow him. If not, I recently had him on the podcast, but he made a good point before he, I don't know if he took it down or if it's just the account being locked for the current time being, but he said if talking about this was in direct response to the Budapest Memorandum, right? He's like, well, how do you sell this to the American people, but you won't even enforce the border or protect Americans in their own cities? How do you tell them that we need to go keep our promises when you won't even keep the most basic promises to your own people? What do you think of that?
I mean, that's really the mood of America today. I mean, we've just been through COVID. We're still going through COVID. No one really gives a flying what about what's going on in Ukraine right now. They just don't. And to the chagrin of
are these
many
troops
of these
that have been deployed,
experts,
are they wearing masks? Just kidding.
Probably not. Yeah. So I guess to sort of finish my long meandering point a second ago, it's like, we're sort of backing into this situation where, okay, we've put these troops on heightened alert, and now it's like the more we do, the more we have to do something, because then it's like the whole credibility of NATO is under
It's hard
question.
to
So
turn
it's
the
like,
machine off, right? Once you
yes,
press power, it's hard to, unplug it or turn it off, right? It's like,
yeah,
"Oh,
and
we got to go."
yes. And the media loves war. Sorry to say, you know how I feel about
It's fucking
my
true.
colleagues.
It's fucking
They
true.
do. They do.
And both
And
sides. And I mean, they did this with Trump
yeah.
his first year. Remember, MSNBC was like, Donald Trump became president tonight. Like, they all gravitate towards a president using his commander-in-chief powers. It's like, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's exciting, if it bleeds, it leads. If there's new war, it's like, oh, stuff to cover. I can come into the
Biggest reality
Pentagon and
TV show there
ask
is.
questions. Oh, totally. And then, and then you've got like Kirby, who, the Pentagon press secretary, who's very slick, right? So it's like, why wouldn't you want him to come out more, And it's like, there's just, we're used to this. This is like muscle memory at this point. It's like, we know how to, actually, I don't know if we do.
Yeah, I mean,
let's
be careful with that next.
Yeah.
Let's be careful with
maybe, we don't know how to fight a war, maybe, but
we know how to fight them. We don't know how to get out of them. I would say that's our problem. We can fight them. Fighting them is not the problem. It's what comes after the fight's over. All right.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so earlier, you brought it up kind of, and so I'm going to get your take on this, because I don't know if you've seen it yet. You've probably been doing some cold showers, so you may not have seen it, right? So there is a post, I think the Republican National Committee research account posted, I don't know who this interaction was with, but it was President Biden kind of, stumbling over something he was talking about, right? And this isn't the first time we've seen this clip. And I'm not here to bang on the president. I'm not, right? Because I honestly, like I've said multiple times, either here or on Twitter, like when I look at the dude, he reminds me of my grandfather in his last year before he died. Like, that's what he reminds me of.
Oh,
Like, he can't help, the dude's just old. And he's just, when you get old, I'm sorry, your mind goes. Not everyone is fortunate enough to die with all their faculties intact, right? And I'm not saying the president's going to die. I'm just saying he's a lot closer to it than we are, right? And he's kind of, it's just sad at this point, right? So I was just like, I was so bored today. So I was like, let me just have some fun with this, right? So there is a presidential line of secession. Did you see this tweet that I did?
I saw your tweet, yes.
Okay, good. So I want to get your kind of reactions to it. So I'm going to go through this real quick. I'm going to run down it for those listening, right? So number 2, right? You got the vice president. Then we go to the Speaker of the House. Then we have the president pro tempore of the Senate. Hopefully I said that right. I don't know. Sounds like tempura, right? Then we got the Secretary of State, the Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of Defense, Attorney General, Secretary of the Interior, Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Labor, Secretary of Health and Human Services, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, which I think that's where they made that awful show, Designated Survivor. I think he was the one, right? Or no, was he the one? It doesn't matter. It was a horrible show. Then you got the Secretary of Transportation, Secretary of Energy, Secretary of Education, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, and then finally the Secretary of Homeland Security. How that guy got into the secession, I don't know. That's the worst thing ever created. But anyway, so Kristina, I was like, well, let me just give my take on this, right? Worst case scenario, who's number 2? The vice president, Kamala Harris, right? She's more unpopular than him. What do you think about her? Keep this quick.
Well,
Got to get quick reactions here. Don't keep go. What do you think? Kamala Harris, president.
Oh God, no, she's terrible. She's it's hard to criticize her without being sexist, but it's really nothing to do with her gender. It's just she's not a serious, she doesn't have a lot of foreign policy experience. I think she was on the Judiciary Committee. Maybe that gave her some kind of, I don't know, domestic national security chops, but as far as foreign policy, she doesn't know anything really. She's been going down to Central American countries recently, but I think that's her weakest spot. So I personally don't like her because I think she's a big phony. I just from sorry, I just had to say that. I'm from California. She's from California. She just doesn't. I don't. yeah, it just seems like her whole story, her whole background is not really impressive. Her whole claiming to be from Oakland, that really pisses me off because she's actually from Berkeley. So I just see her as this big phony, and I don't think she's ready to become president. And I think
so
Americans don't think
not
so
a
either.
fan of number 2, right? So now we move to number 3. Well, I'm not going to go what position, but that's Nancy Pelosi, right? My comment was okay, so we already know the age is an issue with President Biden, right? So number 3, Nancy Pelosi, she's 81. What do you think about it? What do you think about 81-year-old Nancy Pelosi?
Aside from that one, remember that Sunday morning appearance with George Stephanopoulos, where she had like a brain freeze? Remember that, where he asked her a question?
She's 81.
And she just announced that she was going to run again.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I mean,
and no one's going to oppose her. Not even anyone in her own party. And of course she's going to get reelected because this fucking state just keeps doing the same thing over and over. All right, so that's number 4, Senator Leahy. He's 81 as well. Man,
we have to we have to get in new folks. Yeah, we have to get in new folks.
Yeah. Okay. Number 5, Anthony Blinken. You know what I have against him? Big 2003 Iraq invasion warmonger. He was all about it.
Yeah, you have a good reason to not like Blinken. Blinken, I'm very divided on him because he's so much more competent than Biden ever was. Biden was supposed to be this foreign policy expert, but I don't think he has ever been. So Blinken sounds like a diplomat should sound. He's very smart and diplomatic, but at the same time, I don't think he's as smart as we need him to be. He got owned by the Chinese in Anchorage. I mean, that was just embarrassing. So he's probably, I think he's a smart person, but I think his thinking might be a little bit, I would say outdated. He's kind of from the whole, he's from a school of foreign policy that we may not just be in anymore. So, I mean, I don't think he's, as up to the job as we want him to be.
Okay, here's another good one. Number 6, Janet Yellen. She's 75 years old and was also a former Federal Reserve chairwoman. She was the chair of the Federal Reserve. So I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I don't really know too much about her, actually.
Well, that's plenty. I just said plenty. All right, fine. You know what? Here's a better one. How about this? Number 7, the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin. Nah, fam.
No.
Yeah, there you go. All right, number 8.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a reaction other than, Merrick Garland.
Oh, I mean, I'm
milk toast. That's what that guy is.
We're so screwed if we get to this.
This is number 8.
Yeah,
this is number 8. We're not even halfway home. Actually, we're just slightly past halfway home. All right, that's Merrick Garland. All right, number 9. This was more of a tongue-in-cheek response, but Deb Haaland, right? She runs marathons, and I said, absolutely not stable. No marathon runners are. She is Native American, though. New Mexico. Comes from New Mexico.
I don't know too much about her, but the marathon running that speaks well for her, though.
Okay, I think it doesn't. Anyone who's like,
you don't like these endurance things.
Well, I've done them, and I know how stupid they are to train for. It's number 1. The actual event itself is dumb, right? You got to go run from 3 to 7 hours, however slow or fast you are. And number 2, it's the training that goes into it. You can't just wake up and be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to go run a marathon. Yeah, that's not going to work. You got to train for it. And the training is what's stupid. And that's how because if you have that much time to train, then you're not preparing for what you need to be doing as president. You need to focus on the fucking not run 4 hours.
I think you've got like natural ability, because not everyone can just knock out a marathon like you can.
No, I trained for it and it was stupid. That's why I'm saying you can't trust these people.
I don't know. You're pretty fit.
Oh, all right. Not on this list.
but then again, But then again, I haven't seen the photo, so
Exactly.
which
No,
you
there's
won't
no
you
photos
won't
yet.
post.
Not yet.
So yeah.
Gotta get all right, number 10, right? And number 10, he almost made the list, but he didn't, because at the end of this, there's a list, right? Number 10, Tom Vilsack. He's 71 years old, and my comments were, he's about as boring as they come. He also won $150,000 in the Powerball. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Well, I said no. That disqualifies him because he's a lottery winner. You can't take those people. They're reckless.
Wow.
You know who Tom Vilsack is?
I do.
Oh, okay.
He's the agriculture secretary, right?
Yeah, number 10 in line. What do you think?
Yeah.
I think he had the job
know.
before at one point. Like he was the agriculture secretary under Obama, I think. Then he was governor of Iowa or something. I think something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, not really. See, exactly. All right. Now here's my first one that makes my poll, right? Number 11. And I apologize if I say her last name wrong, but Gina Raimondo.
Oh.
I kind of dig her. Her dad was a lifelong worker for the watchmaker Belova. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Belova, which they had their factory in Rhode Island until he was 56 years old. And where would you guess this watchmaker moved their entire operations and manufacturing? China, exactly. Right. So Yikes. Dad lost his job. He passed away. I said it's a touching personal story. She's only 50 years old. She's very energetic. She looks really good. She might be something that, people might want from both sides. Like, wow, look, high energy, good looking woman, has a touching personal story. Dad lost her job because they fucking shipped his job over to China. Like, that works on both sides. She's number 11. What do you think about Gina Raimondo?
I think, I don't know. She's probably got some like deep state, ties. I don't.
She's from Rhode Island. I can't remember if she was the lieutenant governor. She did something in Rhode Island before she was appointed to this position.
Yeah, no, I haven't focused on her.
All right, that's
in
your
a
homework.
Long time.
All right, Kristina, that's your homework. All right, number 12, another guy that made my list. Number 12, Marty Walsh, right? He's
who?
Marty Walsh. I'm going to tell you.
Who the hell?
I'm going to tell you who the hell he was. He was the mayor of Boston, right? He's a New England Patriots season ticket holder, which means he probably knows how to win, right? Patriots win a lot. He speaks Gaelic. He was a union chief, I think, for the firefighting. I don't know, something in there. Yeah. He's very likable. People think he's smart. What do you think about Marty Walsh? You don't know who he is.
I have no idea who he is.
All right.
I feel like this is one of those man on the street interviews where I'm some like dumb college person.
Nobody does. Here's a great one. Number 13, and I'm probably gonna say his name wrong. Javier Becerra. He's from California. I said he's a California Democrat, automatically disqualified.
Yeah, I hear he's
Attorney General here at one point before he moved into this position.
I hear he's terrible.
Well, he's a California Democrat. That's why he's automatically disqualified. All right. Number 14, Maria Fudge. She's from Ohio. I automatically disqualified her as well because she advocated for Lance Mason, who was a longtime politician in Ohio, who was convicted of killing his wife, stabbed her 59 times. She wrote a letter asking for clemency. No, not clemency, leniency.
Wow.
He's a good man.
Is it Marsha Fudge or is it Maria Fudge?
I put Maria. Maybe it is Marsha. Maybe Twitter auto-corrected me. Anyway, plus her last name's Fudge. Do you really want President Fudge? Is that what you want? Anybody who advocates for someone who is convicted of if you stabbed your spouse 59 times, 59, not 5, not 9, 59.
Yeah, that's a little crazy. That's a little crazy.
All right, guess who's next? Number 15.
Buttigieg. Who?
Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, Pete.
Yeah, I automatically disqualified him, and I posted a picture of him pretending he's in dress up in his barracks room in Afghanistan because the guy completely made up his fucking service in Afghanistan. So he's disqualified.
Yeah. So go. I think it's Marsha Fudge. I'm just Googling.
Is it Marsha? Okay, so I said that
it's
wrong.
It's Marsha.
I apologize.
She's HUD secretary, right?
Yep, she's a secretary of the HUD. She's from Ohio. First Black American secretary, I think, since 1979, if I'm correct.
So Marty Walsh. Now that's interesting.
You looking up Marty?
I am. It's like, how do I not know these people?
Well,
like,
I need you to know these people.
The administration needs to like trot out these people because clearly Biden
they're in
and
the line of
Kamala
secession. Exactly.
are not doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Guess what? All right. So we disqualified Pete. We got 3 more. Right. We've got number 16, Miguel Cardona. Young. I think he's 46 years old. He's a fairly young guy. But here's why I disqualified him. During a time where he was doing something with the school board or whatever. I don't know. He wanted to use the Patriot Act against protesting parents.
That's not good. That's
so I
very not
automatically
good.
disqualified him. He's gone.
Oh yeah.
Anybody in favor of the Patriot Act, automatically disqualified.
So you're not disqualified Gina Raimondo.
No, that's not true. Wait, you'll see. All right. I'll get to it. All right. And now we got 2 more. Number 17, Dennis McDonough. Dennis McDonough. McDonough. McDonough? I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, it's a weird McDonough. He's
okay.
a former national security advisor, right? No, sorry, not advisor.
No, you're right. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
For Obama, right?
Yeah.
And now
he was in the Situation Room during the Bin Laden raid.
Why
in the picture?
Is the VA,
famous
why,
picture.
Why is the VA secretary so low on that line of succession?
Well, he's not the lowest. He's second to lowest.
But he should be like number 5. Not him personally, but at least the position.
Well, I mean, they
good VA
secretaries. They screw more veterans than they help. Let's be honest. That might be why.
I mean, at least you would think they would think twice before, starting a new war, because then they'd have more work to do at least, or
you would
familiar with the problem.
So I said about him, I wrote, seems entirely too nice. I think the guy was confirmed like 92-7 in the Senate. Like everyone seems to like this guy. He was in the Situation Room. Like I said, there's that famous photo during the Bin Laden raid. He's 3rd from the right in the blue shirt, if you want to look it up. And I wrote, considered. I would consider him. Seem to like him. All right. Last but not least, actually is the least. Number 18, the Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. And I just put the laughing emoji, especially where he's like, border enforcement doesn't really align with the administration's policies, so let's make the best of it.
Yeah.
That's it. Those are our choices. That's it. That's the line of secession, Kristina. All right, so here's what I got. And I'm going to give you the scientific poll results so far. It looks like we're gonna actually hold on. So I'll give you my 3 that are in there, and then we'll get out of here. We'll end happy hour. All right. So number 1, Gina Raimondo. She's on the list. Marty Walsh and Dennis McDonough. Guess who's leading the poll currently?
Okay. Who is this? So probably Marty Walsh.
Wrong. We are electing our first female president.
Interesting. Did you do this on Twitter?
It's on Twitter. You can go vote right now. If you
You
have 19
going there.
minutes left.
Huh. I can launch a what do they call that?
Retweet.
I can launch a counter campaign.
Because you have a massive following, and then
I'll make her
Gina Raimondo.
Exactly.
Like everyone, people. I mean, I feel bad for her dad. Companies like
frankly, I don't know much about her personal story, so I can't really
no one knows anything about most of these people past like Austin, right? People can know who the Secretary of Defense is. People probably know who the VP and the Pelosi, based on their position, they've been around long enough. Senator Leahy, people know them, right? But everything past that, I don't think people know who the fuck those people are.
No, it is kind of sad, statement that you've got. The only ones we know about are minority or gay, everyone else is like, who's Marty Walsh? He's just some plain old white dude.
A little bit about
him in the corner.
Yeah, he seems cool. Seems nice.
Exactly. I know. Well, I'll have to look into Raimondo's background.
There you go. You do that. All right. You check out Raimondo. That's been happy hour. All right. Kristina Wong, reporter for the great Breitbart organization covering the Department of Defense and the Pentagon, here to give us all the knowledge on Ukraine. So go follow her on Twitter at Kristina Wong. It's still Wong, right? You didn't change the name.
No, not yet. Not
Yeah,
yet.
too much work.
Tax season is coming up, so
Ooh, there
I
you
have
go.
to.
That's great. I
Get
had,
those,
speaking of which, I had to pay this year for the first time ever. You know why?
why?
All those stimulus bucks. You got to pay them all back.
Oh man.
Yeah. So this is what's interesting, right? Because this isn't, I don't want people to be like, oh, goddamn Biden. Like, you know what? Fucking Trump. He took all your Social Security taxes away like 2 years ago. You had to pay those all back if you were in the military all of last year. And now this year,
Oh,
if you had a child tax credit from the Biden administration from July to December, you got to pay it back. It was an advance
oh
on
no.
this year's taxes. So yeah, I owed cash.
Oh,
There
that
you go.
sucks.
Good luck
But
to you.
you're
And
ahead of,
yeah, plus
yeah.
you're doing the whole married thing now. Who knows? You guys might be
Yeah.
considered part of the 1%.
I don't think so. I don't think
No,
we're there yet.
we're not there
Not
yet.
yet.
Yeah, same. All right. Thanks for hanging out, homie.
All right.
Okay.
This
Love you.
has been
Bye.
great. Love you. Bye.